Well, busy sideline itinerary here for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and some consequential meetings among them. Of course, there's the disappointment about him not going to Washington and getting an official White House invitation, at least not yet, the Israeli Foreign Ministry says, but he'll meet on Wednesday with U.S. President Joe Biden here in New York. A photo opportunity is the way most experts are looking at it at this point in time. Obviously, Netanyahu will feel differently about that. Some interesting meetings as well, though. Tomorrow, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan will meet with Netanyahu. First time in about a decade, those two leaders have gotten together for a sit-down. Netanyahu was supposed to visit Ankara earlier on this year before some health problems set in for the Israeli premier. They'll sit down here tomorrow. It's been odd seeing Erdogan emerge as a sort of a victorious figure as of late, emerging from a political and economic crisis, now playing kingmaker in terms of NATO, mediating between Ukraine and Russia in their particular conflict. So Erdogan kind of has the upper hand diplomatically as of late. Also tomorrow, Netanyahu sits down with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, their first get-together since Russia invaded Ukraine. There's been some tension, obviously, in the Ukrainian-Israeli relationship. Netanyahu will look to put that to bed, at least somewhat, tomorrow as those two leaders sit down. Then later on in the week, on Wednesday, beside meeting with Biden, Netanyahu will also get together with the new South Korean President Yoon. They'll talk about the emerging technologies and some cooperation in that area between those two countries going forward. That's sort of an untapped market as of sorts for Israel so far in terms of Korea. They've been focused mainly on Japan and China when it comes to Asia. Obviously, there's more business to be done there in that part of the world. So busy few days for Netanyahu. Right now, he's scheduled to take the podium on Friday morning. A lot of time in between to take care of a lot of important business on behalf of Israel.
And I guess the dream meeting for Benjamin Netanyahu would be with the Saudi delegation, amid, of course, all the speculation going on about whether or not Saudi Arabia will normalize ties with Israel. We know the Saudi foreign minister is in town representing King Salman. What else should we be looking out for specific to the Middle East at the event this week, Mike?
Well, there is a side event going on right about now in terms of the Middle East peace process. It's led by the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Arab League, and the European Union. The Israelis and the Palestinians were not invited. It's more of an insular meeting, although the head of EU Foreign Affairs will be commenting on that a little bit later on today. The Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs have already told me no comment. They're laying off of it because of the sensitivity. It'll be interesting, most interesting to see what the Saudis have to say about how that particular meeting went. Hopefully, we'll learn more about it later on today. Other topics of interest here in the Middle East over the next few days as well. Foreign Minister Eli Cohen of Israel will be sitting down with delegations from the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain specifically to talk about advancing the Abraham Accords. Also, the State Department told me yesterday that there will be a meeting between the United States and the so-called I2U2 economic forum involving Israel, India, the United Arab Emirates, and the U.S. to talk about more projects there economically that they can try to advance over the coming months and years.
And another word, if you would, on Prime Minister Netanyahu. There have been some complaints, haven't there, from his team about the antics, if you like, of the opposition, of the protest movement here in Israel, not giving him the nicest welcome in the US today.
There'll be no respite for Netanyahu over the next few days here in the U.S. The protest movement organizing in full force. They greeted him in San Francisco, if you want to call it that, as he got off the plane and as a convoy took off down the streets of San Jose. There were protesters lined up there. There have been graphics that have been screened on the Alcatraz prison out there in San Francisco and other locations in San Francisco with anti-Netanyahu messages. Expect more of the same here in New York. There are already events planned in Times Square here at the UN outside of Netanyahu's hotel. Visiting Israeli ministers will get that same protest treatment as well.
Mike, we look forward to speaking to you a lot more over the next few days. Thank you very much, Mike Wagenheim there, covering the UN General Assembly in New York.